Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to be looking at recruiting in college football 25. I've gotten a lot of questions on this. It's actually once you get up and running in recruiting, it is a very easy system. But getting that first initial learning curve out of the way is seems to be tough for a lot of people this season. So I'm going to take you through at least some tips, tricks, how to actually do recruiting, and get you all prepped for your season. So let's start off. I created this whole, mock dynasty. We're going to use a brand new recruiting board and go through step by step just to look at this. But first thing you're going to want to do, once you've made a new dynasty, you're going to look through this prospect list, and the first thing you want to do is just sort by top prospects. I picked LSU for this. I am running a head coach who's level 40. I've done this on level 1 head coaches. There's not a huge bump that happens. It really comes down to your school and your pipelines, but head coach level affects it a little bit. It'll help, but main thing is really how good your school is, right? So let's start off. I'm going to go to prospect list. I'm going to have a few prospects who are going to like me out of the 5 stars just because LSU is a top tier school. But you really want to come here. You don't want to sit on recommended and start there. That's not going to find those top prospects. When you're looking at a recruiting class, none of these guys should be starting for you the first year you pick them up, right? Like it's probably 75 to 80 is the overall cap on that. And if you are starting at 75 and your second year playing, things did not go too well. So yeah, you don't really want to play these guys year one out of the gates. So you're really prepping to get those top guys, 2 years down the road after you start this recruiting board. So just looking through, you really want to aim for those top prospects if you're a top school. If you're playing, Kennesaw State, you should probably go for 4 stars, 3 stars. But if you're playing a top tier school, if you're a top 25 school, go for those 5-star recruits. This is where you want to be. You want to get those top guys. The 3 stars aren't going to do very much to help you in the long run. So just starting off, when you're looking at this board, it's really important through all these 5 stars. You are grabbing pretty much anybody you are in the top 3 for. Pipelines matter. Everything's going to matter. But you want to grab everybody that you have a chance on. So, this first corner, I'm not exactly on his list. I could try and go for him, but I'll probably skip over. This free safety, I'm second on his interest board. Don't even have to think about it. If you look on this top school area, Ole Miss and me are neck and neck. So go ahead, throw him on the list. If you're a 0 pipeline on some people, if you're like 5th on their board and you're 0 pipeline, maybe don't go for them. Pipeline's over here, by the way, if you want to see exactly where that's at. But yeah, just go through this list right away and kind of look at everybody. If you have extra spots, you could go for these ninth interest boards. I will say if you have a pipeline and you're 8th or 9th on a board and you're in a league with a ton of users, right? So you have, 15 to 20 users in that league. It's possible people don't do the recruiting. I've had, I'm in 3 dynasties right now, and a ton of people don't do recruiting. If all these people who are top schools aren't doing their recruiting, you could rise that board real quick and take over somebody. It's very easy to jump ahead of someone if you have a decent pipeline, and you're at least in the top 10. So these 9th places, I'm not going to write them off, but you shouldn't aim for them right off the bat. Okay, so let's go through. You only have so many points. And again, I'm using a head coach that has a lot of points. I have 1125. If you're using a new coach, I think it's somewhere around 800 or 900, maybe a little more. So you're still going to have a lot of points. You're not at a huge disadvantage with using a level 1 head coach. But it's definitely going to be a little different when you're allocating your points out. So let's go through this right end. I'm number 1 on the board. I don't have any huge leads on these guys, but that's normal with 5-star recruits. Texas and Alabama seem like they're owning these prospects pretty well, so I'm going to skip over. This left end, I'm 5th on the board. I might just throw him on just to give it a shot. That's a big need for LSU is defensive end. This running back, I'm 4th. I normally try to stick to top 3. I don't really veer to 4th and 5th. And for a running back, I might not do it. This center, I'm going to throw him on. We'll give it a shot. This one has a pipeline. Let's just go ahead and do it. Level 5 pipeline there, so it's worth the grab. 6th place, Georgia is massively dominating this recruit, so we're not going to go ahead and grab him. This fifth, we're a little bit behind Texas. It's a level 1 pipeline. Might as well leave him there. We're 8th for this prospect. This running back, we're 3rd. Level 5 pipeline, we'll grab him. Yeah, so you just want to go through this list, and really grab anyone who's majorly interested in you. I'll talk a little bit more on, prospect abilities and things like that. But if you're going through this, if you don't have any major needs on your team in the first couple of years, I wouldn't stress too much on your board. You don't want to, only go for those positions that you have a need at. This is, college football franchise. You should be aiming years out. So really going after the top prospects you can. The positions will fill themselves out. You don't need to, if you have a major middle linebacker need, you don't need to sit there and throw all your points on every middle linebacker this year. Again, it's not going to affect your team year one. So there's not much of a need for it. This quarterback here, I'm 3rd. It's not a huge need for my team, but I'll throw him on the board. This is actually a pretty good generated class right here. I'm on a ton of different boards. Sometimes you might only be on 5 to 10 players boards for the 5 stars. So we've moved into the 4 stars here as we're going through this top prospect list. So you really want to fill your board with just people who are interested in you, out of these top players. So this player, I'm 2nd on his board, level 3 pipeline. I would grab him for right outside linebacker. This tight end, it's a possession tight end, but we're number 1 on the board. Let's go for it. Another right outside linebacker, a free safety, a corner. Again, if you're first in these boards, you're probably going to dominate for these prospects. Getting a free, 4-star free safety is going to be nice. But you really want to go after anybody you're first on who's a 4 or 5 star. You should be going after them no matter what, and throwing some heavy points on them. Going through this list a little more, we're 4th for a defensive end. I'm going to throw them on. This first week of preseason is just for scouting, right? This is where you get to find out who's good, who's not. If you have a ton of hours to blow on this, you're going to cycle through a lot of players. You're not going to cycle through just 35 players. You're going to get some busts that you're going to cycle out. You're going to want to blow all these points if you can. We're first on this QB board. I think this might be one of our first wide receivers. A few of them have been, X'd out. But this is the first wide receiver I think we're on the board for. I do like to throw on, if I see deep threat wide receivers, no matter where I'm at on the board, you might want to just scout them in preseason just to see. Some of them are generated with 97, 98, 99 speed. So you really want to, cycle through some of these guys. Even though I'm 7th on the board, I'm going to take a shot on it, and we'll go through that in just a minute. Top 3 for corner. This athlete is physical, so I'm assuming a wide receiver or tight end. We can leave him off. Top 3 for corner. Right guard. Yeah, we'll go ahead top 3. There are a ton of 4-star recruits here, so we really have a lot to work with. Another wide receiver. He's not exactly a deep threat. We'll go on this deep threat here. Generating players this year, you can find a lot of gems in the 4 stars. And because people have limited hours, if you find those gems early in preseason, they are going to be huge for your team, okay? So you really want to try and scout as many 4 stars and 5 stars as you can. 3 stars, not as big of a need unless you have leftover points, but anybody you're on those top, 3 to 5 boards on, you can go ahead and scout in this preseason week. Get an idea of, these people's traits. If they are a gem, you really want to go ahead and grab them. We're getting a lot of first place here, so let's go ahead. LSU seems to be one of those schools that gets a good generation every time, and that's how it was back in NCAA 14 too. It's LSU is a top school. They have an A minus, A plus for just about every stat you can have as a school, so they tend to pull a lot of recruits, in real life and in this game. A couple good recruits still showing up here. I think we're going to be nearing the end of the 4 stars pretty soon here. And we filled up our board, so not too shabby. This is our first 35 recruits here. This is our targets. We grabbed all those 5 and 4 stars we could to fill up the board. We're going to go through now and scout. Because my coach is a higher level, Some of the scouting might be easier. I think linebackers I can scout a little faster. So that is one advantage there. That's really where the advantage lies for having a higher coach. You get to come out the gates with a little bit of an advantage. You get screwed over in the long run, but it is nice to have that early advantage on recruiting. So we're going to go through. I would recommend every 5-star you go ahead and scout, okay? Let's go through this free safety first off. Let's scout him, see what we get. And it's a gem. First 5-star recruit is a gem. We're going to offer him a scholarship instantly. And just so you guys are aware, if you are number one on any prospect, say I'm number one in this corner you see right here, if you offer them a scholarship right off the bat, if you have a decent chunk on second place, there is a chance these prospects will auto-commit. I'm sure you guys have seen auto-commits in the preseason, but there is a decent chance. There's some abilities you can get later on too. I know this coach does not have them, but there are some abilities to try and make people auto-recruit. It can just happen automatically. So you really want to offer a lot of scholarships week one if you're really, really ahead of people on their recruiting boards. But let's go to the second recruit. We'll do some scouting. And another gem. Okay. Well, this corner is also a gem. We'll go ahead, offer a scholarship and a 5-star gem, auto-committed right off the bat. You can't make this stuff up. Yeah, that's huge. That's so huge. The chances of that are so low. A 5-star gem is really the top of the top when it comes to a player that you're going to get. So that is huge. He's a slot corner. When I'm managing this board, it's 35 slots. So I like to organize it a little bit. You can push right trigger on the player, hold it, and I just throw them at the bottom of my list. So I go to the top and I sort them, all the way to the bottom. I'll just leave them down there just to keep my board cleaned up, not too messy. Let's keep scouting. I'll go through a few of these just to show, what you can get away with. Okay, 3 gems in a row. You don't see that every day. So 3 5-star gems just right off the bat. We're obviously offering a scholarship. And we are number 2 on this first guy's board. We're number 1. We just got that auto commit. This is a pretty great starting class. This is a pretty great starting class to begin with. Let's go to this next recruit. Gems do not come very often in 5-star, so this is crazy. Just a normal recruit here. We didn't get a gem. Totally fine. But a 5-star recruit, we're going to offer scholarship for that for sure. We're number 1 on that board. We're number 5 on this defensive end. Let's go ahead and scout him. And he's a bust. So 5-star bust. He does have, a purple mental trait, which is really good. I'm going to offer him a scholarship. We may take him off the board. I'll offer him a scholarship, if we end up keeping him on the board. A 5-star bust is probably getting you a 3 or 4-star player in general. It's not great. You shouldn't be excited. You shouldn't blow first week points on it. So I'm going to grab him. I'm going to sort him above, that auto commit just to keep things organized. You want to do this as you go, just to try and keep some organization for 35 spots. All right, we're 4th on the centers board. Let's scout him up. All right, normal prospect. We're going to offer him a scholarship. 4th isn't exactly great, but we're not too far behind. That little inch, for a top 8 prospect, that is not a huge advantage. We have a 5-star, pipeline on this, so it's going to be hard to compete with those top schools, Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, but we at least have a chance. If you're going against a lot of computers, you could normally beat them out for this. You can schedule your visits early, stay on top of them, and normally bully them out of these prospects. If they have a massive advantage on you, they might bully you back and just keep a massive gain on you. So it can go either way. This 5-star running back, let's take a look at him. Okay, so decent prospect. He has some abilities there. We'll offer him a contract. We're 4th on the board. Not too much of a gain from Texas, so we'll play that out. Another running back. And I recommend, and we got a gem here. All right, another, 5-star gem. I recommend you scout every 5-star prospect that you're in top 3 for, no matter what. If you're top 4 or 5, you can do it too, but you should be scouting every one of these prospects. If for some reason someone doesn't do their scouting, if you're in a league with a lot of users, you can jump right over these people if they don't take these prospects serious. So if you find a gem, invest everything, send the house, and offer some massive points towards them every week. All right. And, just a personal preference, you don't have to do this, but if I get any gems, I normally just filter them right to the top. So these gems, I'm going to put them all on the top just for some good sorting. All right, we're number 3 on this QB. Let's go ahead and scout him. Another gem. This is a crazy amount of gems popping up here. This is a 4-star prospect, so we've moved into the 4s. I think we blew through our 5 stars. This top 6 is really our main 5 stars that we're going for. But 4-star gem, I'm going to come back to the 5 stars too once we've really scouted out people. If we have leftover points, we'll go grab some of those 5th and 6th and 7th place 5-star recruits, start digging into them. 6 recruits that we're most likely going to get if we push hard on. That's not bad at all for a recruiting class. Let's offer this gem a scholarship, though. A 4-star gem, is pretty much a 5-star player. He's got 94 throw power, good accuracy, so that's a good grab. Let's look at this outside linebacker. We have another bust. So a 4-star bust, not great at all. Let's go ahead. We'll filter him to the bottom. I probably shouldn't have gone down on this. I should have sent him up, but we'll send him to the bottom. Okay, so we have 2 busts, but a lot of gems so far. Let's go to this tight end. We will scout him. And another gem. Wow. Okay. This is a lot of gems. We're only, 14 prospects, 12 prospects in, getting a lot of gems. We offer him a contract immediately, scholarship. We'll keep going through. I'm going to sort him up in just a second. We have another bust. I feel like these right outside linebackers make a ton of busts. That must be something when you generate players. Those outside linebackers just seem to bust more often than not. Let's go to this free safety. Okay, just a 4-star prospect. We will offer him a contract. We're number 1 on this board, so we are way ahead of everybody. That could be a good get. This cornerback, okay, another bust. The luck is coming back around. Let's go ahead and throw that bust on the bottom. Corners I might check on. He's got some good speed stats. His man coverage is 70, which is awful, and 75 press. Good zone. He's not exactly awful. We could go ahead and grab him later on. All right, let's go to this defensive end. Another bust. Okay. He has some good mental traits, but I guess he is on the bust list. These busts are good. Whether they're a gem or a bust, is good to figure out their overall. And it's also really good to figure out their dev trait. So, if you have a gem, they're more likely to have a good dev trait. Dev traits are pretty random. You can't really find them out. There's an ability to try and figure it out on a visit, but that's pretty hard to unlock. It's not exactly worth it. You're pretty much recruiting these players and hoping they have a good dev trait. So keep it in mind with that. Let's look at this QB. All right. Not too bad for a 4-star QB. We're number 1 on this board, so we'll send the offer out. Really sending these offers for anyone you're number 1 on the board for is huge for 4 and 5-star players. You can get early commits. You're probably not going to get much fight back. If it's a 4-star prospect, those top schools might not be on the board. This wide receiver, we are 7th on the board. He has 94 speed. I'm not exactly interested. Really, if it was 97 to 99 speed, that's huge. We would want that. But unless you have a school with, some lower speed wide receivers, I wouldn't even touch that. Let's go to this 4-star corner. Okay. 93 speed, good traits. We can go after this corner. We're number 3 on the board, but worth going after. We have another QB here. I normally don't throw this many QBs in the board, but we're scouting. We'll give it a shot. 91 throw power. We kind of have a few QBs. I'm going to go ahead and just clear them off the list. It's not a need for this team anytime in the future. So, really not necessary for a QB. This corner. All right, another gem. There we go. 96 speed corner too. Wow. Wow, that is huge. 80 press, man-to-man corner. That is a big prospect. I'm going to move him up. And we're number 3 on the board. We're going to be fighting Texas for that. So, yeah, that is a good prospect to try and get. Let's keep going. We are number 3 on this board. Oh, some good abilities and mental traits. All right, so 4-star prospect. We'll offer him a scholarship. Another deep threat wide receiver. We're deep on this board. I threw him on just because he's a deep threat. Let's see what that speed is. All right, 98 speed, right? And that's why you go after these prospects. These top schools, again, if you're in a mostly user-filled dynasty mode, so those top 25 schools are filled with users, right? They're the people you're fighting with on these prospects. So if they're not doing their recruiting, if they're not taking it serious, you're going to get tons of these guys. So even though we don't have a good pipeline, we're a little bit behind FSU at the top. We're not that far behind. We're going to go after this guy heavy, okay? Getting a 98 speed wide receiver who's a freshman is huge. So we're going to grab him. I don't like to lose these guys, so I'm going to move him up the board. I might even put him as 1 just to make sure I'm putting full investment, giving all of my focus to him. So I'm going to put him ahead of all those gems. Let's keep going through these prospects here. Okay. Not too bad. A 4-star prospect. All right. Physical wide receiver. We're number 1 on the board. I'll go for it. We'll throw him on there. Really racking up these 4 stars is huge. I'm going through a lot of these 4-star prospects, really investing some scouting hours. Oh, we have a bust there. We're number 3 on the board, so that's not too bad. But yeah, really going through these prospects, investing your scouting hours, right, is huge. So you really want to get these scouting hours out of the way. Oh, another gem. All right, another 4-star gem. We will offer him a contract, and we are number 1 on that board. So, getting a right outside linebacker who's actually a gem, it's a nice change of pace. So good prospect there. Let's keep going through. I have some good running back prospects so far. I don't know if we exactly need to scout this guy, but I'm going to throw it on there anyways. All right. We're number 1 on the board. I'm going to offer him the contract. Free safety. We're number 3 on the board. We're working our way down towards these hours now. So, we're almost to a third of our hours that we started with. I might go through and just really try and target a lot of these prospects we're number 1 on. I think we have a few of those coming up. This number 3 free safety, I might not invest the scouting hours now. We'll circle back to that just in case. I'm going to go right for this deep threat wide receiver, 95 speed. I wanted to keep going because he actually has a gold dev trait for shifty. That's pretty cool. I might just throw him at the bottom of the board. If we get some hours later on, nobody's investing in him, we might get a steal on that in, the 8th to 10th week. You never know. I'm going to do the same with this free safety. I don't really want to blow the scouting hours right now unless we have extra. We're number 1 on this outside linebacker. Let's go ahead and throw some points on him. Okay, he's a decent prospect. We'll go ahead and offer the scholarship. Really going through, we're number 3 on this right tackles board, but we haven't gotten a ton of O-linemen, so I'm gonna try and search him up. All right, we have another gem. This one at the right tackle position. We'll offer him a scholarship. We're number 3 on the board, so we have a bit of a way to work up, but we'll make it happen. These top schools, like Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, they do beat out LSU, even though it's a great recruiting school. We're all basically in the same pipeline. So the way this works is, we have this 5-star pipeline. This prospect is from Dallas, Texas. We have this East Texas pipeline. I know that's one of my 5-star pipelines. And you're competing with the same schools for this normally. So I'm competing with Texas, Alabama, TCU, Florida State. You're going to end up seeing a lot of the same. You're going to seeing a lot of the same names, right? All of these, schools in the SEC in the South. We're going to be in this pipeline. You're competing with those same people, but it's also good to take note of that. So, if you know that you're Texas, you're Alabama, you're Florida State, all these players aren't very active on recruiting. These are all user-controlled players, user-controlled teams. You might really want to target some of these prospects. You might go, Texas and Alabama, they're not going to put any recruiting hours in. They don't even look at this stuff. I'm gonna push hard on some of these, right? And I know I'm gonna get them because those schools might as well not even be on the board. Something to keep in mind in those big user dynasty modes. It really comes down to, if there's a lot of users, the inactivity from players only helps you when it comes down to it. That their inactivity is going to make it so much easier for you to recruit. I get most of my commits in the big user-controlled dynasties just because of that. So try to pay attention to who's putting the recruiting hours out. You can go check that in the members tab back on the main menu. You can see who's using the recruiting hours every week. Oh, another bust here. You can see who's using the recruiting hours. So, use that feature. If those schools you're competing against nonstop aren't using their hours, you're going to dominate your divisions, your pipelines for grabbing these players. All right, we're almost all the way through this board. I'm going to, scout these just a little bit. I wanted to see this quarterback's throw power. He is awful. He's going to the bottom of the list. All right, we have one left. This free safety I didn't scout earlier. We have 190 hours left. We'll go ahead and scout him just in case. And he is just a 4-star. I'll offer him the scholarship, but we're not going to push too hard. All right, so that was going through your board for the first time, right? It's not very complex. If you don't have a ton of scouting hours, you might not have been able to push super hard on the bottom here. If you have a ton of hours, this is where you really want to blow them, right? So we cleared 2 people off our boards. We have a bunch of busts to work with. Let's go back to the prospect list. I already found a 98 speed wide receiver. So that's huge. It's really finding those fast wide receivers is always something really cool. And position changes in college football are big. Like, you can get massive upgrades. So even if you had a fast player, you wanted to make him a running back or something. If he's tall, you want to make him a tight end. Getting speed is huge in any game, any football game. Let's go back to these prospects for wide receiver. This is where I like to blow a little bit of time. Let's grab this guy we're 7th on the board for. These physical wide receivers, they're probably not going to be fast. 6'5", you might want to go for the height, but let's dig in a little bit. This wide receiver, he's a deep threat. We're 7th on the board. I'm going to go ahead and grab him. We're going to clear a little more space here too. So a few of these busts that we have, we're going to say goodbye to. We're going to keep the 5-star bust. That is a huge player, even if he is a bust. But these 4-star busts could be 3 or 2-star. You might not want to keep them. This scrambler QB, I'm not keeping him. We have a few QBs. This running back, we have a ton of running backs and prospects for running back. So I'll clear both of them. Let's go back into wide receiver. Again, make sure you're sorting by top prospects. You don't want to just go off recommended. They don't show you everybody on recommended. So really go off these top prospects. We're going to go back through, find some deep threat wide receivers. All right, we're not on this guy's board. We found another one here. For these lower prospects, you don't exactly have to be on their board. If you have a good pipeline, you can go after them. All right, we grabbed some wide receivers here. These deep threats, just to use some of our additional hours, let's go ahead and scout them. So we'll scout this one first. We really just want to find maybe some fast wide receivers on the back end. 93 speed is not what we're looking for. Let's keep it going. All right, another 93 speed. This one's a 4-star bust, so really not the goal. And we're going to go ahead and look at this last wide receiver. 99 speed for a random 4-star wide receiver. And we are number 1 on this board. I cannot stress enough how important it is. You go through these random 4-star, 3-star prospects just in case. These 99 speed players can pop up all the time. This one has 95 acceleration. That is huge. We're going to offer him a scholarship. And a 99 speed player, we're going to keep him up towards the top just to manage as the season goes on. That is a massive get. And let's go a little bit deeper on our board. Let's see if there's any more, maybe one or two more deep threats we can just scout. We are big pipeline 9th on this guy's board. So we'll throw him on the list, see where that gets us. Okay. And this one has 98 speed, 96 excel. We have a gem 4-star wide receiver. That is massive, right? Again, searching these wide receivers at the end of your scouting, if you have the extra hours, is massive. If you want to do it early, go right ahead, be my guest. You can do it, before you even check your 5 stars. That's something you can do. I'm going to go ahead and offer our 4-star busts some contracts here or there just to use the rest of our points. If for some reason I wanted them later in the season, I'm not getting these points back. So this is preseason points. Let's go ahead and just use them all up right here. And if for some reason I wanted these guys, they're on the board, I could go ahead and just blow the 5 points on them now just to get it out of the way and make it easy. All right, guys, we filled out our board. That's the end of it. We can go ahead and progress this now. So that was our preseason scouting, right? We have used all of our hours for preseason. We have our board built out with these top prospects. Let's go ahead and sim to week 1. Those scholarships we offered are going to do a little bit towards getting these recruits. And we're going to get a good idea of who actually offered scholarships. So let's go to step 2 here. We are advancing. And for anyone who hasn't played Dynasty yet, hasn't done recruiting, you're going to get those little updates when you first start. Most teams are on a bye week for week 0. Some teams have some games, but this is week 0. It's really a good excuse to do some recruiting, especially if you don't have a game, you at least have something to do. But you're going to go through your list here. All of your prospects, you're going to see who offered a scholarship week 1. And let me say, the chances are if someone didn't offer a scholarship week 1, during that preseason recruiting, they're probably not offering a scholarship, at least for a few weeks. So if you get these prospects, I'm fighting just FSU, just Florida State on this prospect here. If Florida State doesn't invest this week in this prospect, I know I don't have to put 50 points into him every single week. I can maybe put 10 to 25, just ride it out nice and slow. It's good to check these prospects every week, no matter what. You never know when Florida State's going to come out of nowhere and throw a 50-point on this player. So don't completely write them off, but maybe put in the 50 this week. And if they don't put any points in, you could ride out 10 to 25 every week. You're going to keep a massive gain on them. This is huge for managing your board. Making sure you don't throw 50 at every single player. If you have a massive gap on somebody, there is no reason to drop 50 points on them every single week. You could ride them out. When you get commits as the season goes on, you're going to get points back for those players. That 50 you put into that 5-star every week, you're going to get that back, and you can reinvest, in those guys you had a massive lead on. Those guys that you haven't blown as much points on, you could really send it later on. But managing your points is really the nuance for recruiting that helps you, really beat people out for this. So it looks like our prospects went pretty well. We're competing with, Florida State for a couple of these. We were down on this board, I think 7th or 8th for this deep threat wide receiver. I think this is our 99 speed one, 98 speed. We've moved up. 5 schools have offered him a contract. He is a gem 4-star. So I'm sure some schools did some scouting on him. We'll go ahead and invest in him. But as you go through looking at this, some schools are offering, some of these prospects are getting a lot of offers from schools. Some like this, there's 2 schools on the board. Maybe people didn't scout this very well. Maybe they don't know he's a gem, right? You know he's a gem because you scouted. But, maybe only the one other school here is the one who scouted him, saw this prospect could be a gem. So some of these, you're going to get away with a lot. Other prospects, every single school offered a contract to. You really want to invest. If you want these prospects like these gems here, you want to invest everything you have to beating these schools out. You kind of want to scare them off just to really run those prospects. But yeah, we're just going to go through the board for just a second here, look at some of these. This prospect here, this QB, he's a 4-star prospect. Nobody offered him a contract. So I can keep him on my board. I could just put no points into him those first 5 weeks, wait till I get to some commits. Once I have some committed recruits, I could come back and throw some points on here. And again, you want to come through and check these players, make sure Alabama doesn't offer a contract next week. But you really don't have to invest early on these. If you know nobody put a contract in, that means they're not on those people's boards. They're not on Alabama's board. They're not on Texas's board. They have to go back through into that prospect list and go find those players. They're going to have to reinvest, their time, kick some players off their board, go through the prospect list, and see those players again to actually have a chance at offering a scholarship. You're going to have a lead. Nobody's going to go back through and do that. I've done it, but In these leagues, you get one like this, right? Another receiving back, nobody offered a contract. This is where you get your steals later on. So you invest hard in those prospects that everyone's fighting for. And then these schools where you're looking like you're going to get them no matter what, nobody's even has them on the recruiting board. I would wait. Don't invest your points right away. If someone tries to backdoor you and invest in them, it is what it is. You'll have a battle on your hands, but these aren't prime prospects. If they're not a gem, there's no reason. And you'll probably get them. You'll probably have no contention. You'll have so many points left over when you're done with this. Some of these schools too, we already moved to top 5 on this school. Some of these prospects move fast. And you'll see, I'm a three level pipeline for this player. Auburn moved up a ton, kicked me down to number 2 on this player. These are unavoidable. You might not get these prospects. It's not the end of the world. You could fight back. But if he's moving quick and Auburn, is already moving that much, we'll find out next week if I invest points what we can do. But yeah, just giving you an idea of a few of these prospects. Let's go back to the beginning. We'll start investing points. So I've ordered these prospects based on how much I like them, right? These top wide receivers, I'm going to fight hard for this. I don't have a pipeline, but I'm going to fight FSU for this. Let's go ahead. And the only real way to fight for a player if you're in a battle with someone is send the house, right? If you have a better pipeline, if you happen to have coach abilities, it's not exactly likely. Like coaches don't come with prime abilities. I don't have a wide receiver ability or anything. You might be able to invest more points. Some coach abilities let you put 65 points into a player a week, maybe, instead of just 50. It's unavoidable. If someone has those for players, there's not much you can do. But me and FSU might be able to compete on this. So I'm going to put in the full 50. This 99 speed guy, I'm going to put in the full 50. And then this major battle, with 5 other schools, I'm going to put in the 50. For this 4-star gem, we can reassess next week. But this is week 1. You want to push hard and see who's putting hours into players. This gem, 5-star free safety. If you have a 5-star gem, put all of your points into him. There is no reason you should not send the house every week. I actually have a defensive end and a linebacker ability to do 60 points. So that's going to be huge for this right end with an ability. We might be able to dominate over Alabama with that pipeline. This running back, we'll go ahead and throw 50 on him as well. There are certain positions. Running back's not one I like to invest in too much, especially after year 1. You can take your fast wide receivers and put them at running back. You can switch positions. And fast wide receivers who are bigger make good running backs. You can have a fast, good running back that you don't exactly grow in the running back position. This gem, we are fighting with, one other school. They're not exactly a good school. They have a worse pipeline. I'm going to throw 25 on this. Just take a gamble. If he throws the full 50 in, I think if I throw the 50 in every week after that, we'll catch up, right? This 4-star gem, we have Texas on there. We have to fight them pretty hard. I have one dynasty as Texas, and Texas has a big pipeline. They pretty much own East Texas, so they can dominate people in recruiting. This gem right tackle, pretty much any gem you have means they have 5-star potential. You need to invest everything. Auburn seems to have some kind of advantage in some of these prospects. I at least can put 60 points into this guy, so I'm going to push on that gem. And then let's push on the rest of our 5-stars as well. I will say, don't be worried about, not having enough points after week 1. You really want to push hard on all of these top players, all of these gems, all of these 5-stars. And if you have points left over, you could start allocating and going after some of these other guys. I didn't move this quarterback up, but let's offer him one. All right, so we hit all of our gems, all of our 5-stars. Now we just have 4-star players left, right? I have 195 hours. Let's go ahead and allocate those. I don't exactly like to throw massive numbers on people at this point. Unless we get a huge lead after week 1 on players, we can allocate then. But I don't like to throw too much on here. Let's just go through. I'm not going to offer any. If I'm the only person on someone's board, I'm not going to offer any points. Again, if you're in a big user dynasty, you might get screwed on that. But I would not recommend, if you're playing against computers in a solo franchise, I wouldn't offer anything. If you're with a lot of people in a user dynasty, people might have just screwed around week 1 and just had no idea. So they might invest their points week 0. Just be smart about this. Really offer as you see fit. So this first guy, he's a decent free safety. I'm going to throw 25 on him. Nothing on this quarterback because I'm the only one on the board. A lot of us are fighting. This is a man-to-man corner, and I know corner is a spot of weakness for me, so I'm going to throw 25 on him. Again, you're not going to get a good idea of where people are investing their points until after this week. So try to keep that in mind. You can shift your points after this week depending on what people do. We're the only player on this board. I'm not offering anything. We're only fighting Ole Miss. This is a physical wide receiver. I don't care too much about him. I'm going to offer a 10. I'm not big on investing in him. Power back, we have a lot of running backs. I'm going to throw a 10 on him. It's not an area of need on my team at all. I have running backs for years and years. Auburn is owning this prospect quite a bit too. I don't think I'll throw a 10 on and see what Auburn does this next week, but might not get him. Might just need to cut your losses early. But we'll check. 10's not a lot to commit, right? We're fighting 3 schools here for a defensive end. I'm going to put a 25 on that just because Alabama, Oklahoma are on the board. Auburn, again, they didn't really get much out of this, so I'm going to throw a 10 on it. And really, just going through step by step, was this wide receiver? Okay, we're down to our prospects that aren't very good. So we're right at the end of our board. We have 55 hours left. You can manage accordingly. I'm going to put in another 10. We have free safety prospects, so we don't need that per se. I'm going to throw 10 back on this wide receiver. And everyone below is a bust. I have points to spend. I'm going to go back up and reallocate this 35 hours right here into some prospects that I really want. So this defensive end run stopper, I put 25 on. I'm just going to send the house. This is someone I think I want to invest in. So we'll send the house. And then you know what? These prospects that we are number 1 on, I'll throw a 5 on each of them just to get some progression in case you get backdoored. But that's our week 0 scouting. Fairly easy. We've allocated our points. It's really important that you don't come back through and just, leave it like this for the entire season. You're not going to get the people you want. So really important that you come back through and you check your recruiting every week. See where people are moving. Just these first couple weeks are the most important. If you want to set it and forget it from weeks 5 to 9, I'm not going to blame you until you get commits, but you need to manage it. Like it has a check mark. Don't buy the check mark. Go back in. Go do your work.